So this video is another video that has to do with factoring, solving equations by factoring. So this one deals with a special case called the difference of squares. So the difference of squares, what that looks like is we don't have a b term. So if you remember the general form here for a quadratic equation is this, and let's set it equal to 0. So with a difference of squares, we're not going to have this middle term here, and we're going to have a difference. So we're going to have a subtraction. So difference of squares will look something like this. Ax squared minus c equals 0 as an equation, where a and c are perfect squares. Okay, so a perfect square is like 4, 16, 25, I missed 9 in there. So as long as they're perfect squares, then we're going to factor by using the difference of squares. It's also important that this has to be a subtraction sign. It won't work with an addition. Okay. Also, this power, it doesn't have to be a 2. It could be any even number, and then you'd be able to factor it no problem. Okay, so let's see some examples. Okay, so I have 16x squared minus 25 equals 0. So just upon inspecting this, I see that 16 is a perfect square, 25 is a perfect square, and x squared is a perfect squared, and I have a subtraction sign. So this is a difference of squares. So all I'm going to do then is just quickly open up two brackets, set this equal to 0. Don't forget that if you have something written here on the right-hand side. And I'm going to just square root everything. So the square root of 16 is 4, so I'm going to put a 4 in each bracket to start. Square root of x squared is x, so 4x. Square root of 25 is 5. And then it's the difference of squares, so what I do here is I put 1 is a plus and 1 is a minus. And what that does there is it cancels out that middle term, that bx term, so you won't have that in there. So the difference of squares, one bracket is going to get a plus and one's going to get a minus. Okay, so from here, then a solution would be when, again, if the first bracket is equal to 0, if the second bracket is equal to 0. So I get the solutions. So x equals from the first bracket, it's positive, so I'm going to get negative. I want to cancel out the 4, so over 4, and it'll be a 5. And from the second bracket, it's negative, so I want this fraction to be positive, and I want to cancel out the 4 again. So it's 5/4, so I can write that also as x is equal to plus or minus 5/4. Okay, let's see another example. Okay, so 42 minus 36x squared equals negative 7. So right now that maybe doesn't look like a difference of squares, but let's rearrange it, bring everything over to the left-hand side and see if it is. So I'm going to bring the negative 7 over, so it'll be plus 7 on both sides. So I'll have 49 minus 36x squared equals 0. So it's starting to look a little bit better, and now let's just write the x squared term first, so we'll write in descending powers of x. So negative 36x squared plus 49 is equal to 0. Okay, so this one, I have 36 is a perfect square, but negative 36 is not. 49 is a perfect square, no problem, but it's also not a difference of squares because I have a plus sign in there. So what happens with this is that I can't factor it. That's it, it would be done. Okay, so this one doesn't factor with difference of squared. I tried to make it so that it would, but I guess I wasn't paying close enough attention. So that one doesn't factor, okay? But good to see that example. And let's see one more. So 25y squared minus 1 equals 0. So just change the variable, it doesn't matter, it can be anything. So here I have 25 as a perfect square, I have 1 as a perfect square, and I have a difference. So I have a subtraction. So I can factor this one, no problem. So the square root of 25y squared would be 5y. So 5y in each one. Square root of 1 is just 1. And then difference of squares, so one bracket gets a plus and one gets a minus. So this will be equal to 0 so long as one of the brackets is equal to 0. So from the first, I have y is equal to, it's got to be a negative number, so negative, I want to cancel out the 5, and I want it to be a 1 on top. And then the other one, it'll be a positive 1 over 5. So again, I can write y is equal to plus or minus 1 over 5. Okay, and if you wanted to check your answer, you could also substitute those back in for y in the initial equation, and you would see that you would end up getting 0. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. Good luck with the assignments.